Are you challenging me?
Five Nights at Freddy's has touched the lives of millions of people around the world. The biggest gaming YouTubers play the games for millions of fans. The community is massive.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
The fan base for FNAF is similar to that of Pokemon. It's extremely passionate and invested in the IP. The discrepancy between the critic and audience score for the new movie on Rotten Tomatoes reflect this passion. A lot of the fans love this movie, and I can respect that. I like FNAF, but I'm not a die-hard fan. I've played the first 4 games, and I thought they were a good time, but I never got as invested as a lot of other people did. So yeah, I'm not the biggest FNAF fan. No, wait! Come on, come back, don't click off the video, please. And poof, lost half my viewers. There's a popular talking point going around about this movie that if you're not a die-hard FNAF fan, then this movie isn't for you, and you'll likely not enjoy it for that reason. And that's okay because it wasn't made for you. And to that I say, false! Because my wife, who knew nothing about FNAF prior to the movie, loved it. And I, who had previous knowledge of the lore and games, thought it was pretty mid. This movie did bring my wife immense joy. After watching the movie, she stumbled down the endless rabbit hole of the FNAF world, and she had a lot of fun doing it. And she means more to me than anything in the world. If your movie brings my loved ones joy, then that matters more than anything else. So yeah, that's basically the highest praise I can give any movie. That being said, I'd like to share my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Also, the song they played at the end of this movie, why does the world of FNAF have so many good songs? Five Nights at Freddy's! If you're like me and you're a fan of horror or sci-fi or just weird stuff, then you'll probably love my clothing brand, Alien Clothing. We've got a huge Black Friday sale going on right now. It'll be active until Tuesday, so get your shopping in while you can. There's up to 50% off select items and 10% off our new Cosmic Horror collection when you use the code COSMIC10 at checkout. Check out these new Alien magnetic hand-holding socks. I mean, come on, dude. AlienClothing.com, AYYLIEN clothing.com. Go check out what we have over there. Stuff sells out very fast. Download our app on the App Store for exclusive deals and early release access to new drops. It's available on iOS and Android. Okay, now back to the review. I think I would have liked this movie a lot more if it was unapologetically faithful to the lore of the FNAF games, but then it would probably need to be something that it isn't in its current state, and that's scary. I'm sorry, but this movie is horrible at being a horror movie. The FNAF games are in part silly and childish. That being said, the games do range wildly in tone. Some games are 100% childish, while others are absolutely terrifying, but this movie was clearly basing itself mostly around the first game. If you're a FNAF fan, then you already know how dark the lore is. At the same time, the lore is incredibly ambiguous and cryptic, which has led YouTubers like MatPat and many others to try and piece everything together. Some videos about the lore are over 8 hours long. Many aspects of the lore are debated among fans to this day, but there are some concrete events and characters, such as the bite of 87, wherein a security guard gets his frontal lobe bitten off. There's the founders, William Afton and Henry Emily, and their children, most of which suffered a horrific fate. One of William Afton's kids, who some refer to as Evan, was accidentally killed by Evan's older brother named Michael when they were very young. Michael and his friends had lifted Evan into one of the animatronic's mouths. The animatronic's mouth shut tight, which resulted in Evan's death. Since then, that animatronic was possessed by Evan. This event led William Afton down a road of madness. A lot of fans believe that William Afton was always a psychopath, and this tragic event only triggered his evil urges. Either way, when I learned that the protagonist in this movie was named Michael, I was kinda hyped with the expectation that this Michael would be the same Michael that exists in the lore, but it's not. The Michael in this movie is meant to be the security guard you play as in the first game, and the writers just created a backstory for him, and in my opinion is far less interesting. I'll never understand when a movie or show based on a game or a book try their damnedest to create their own series of events with new characters in the same setting that turn out to be worse, less interesting, or engaging than the lore that they already had at their disposal. At the end of the day, it just seems like a lot of wasted effort for a worse result. It sucks to say this, but I'm pretty sure the BioShock movie is doomed. That was one of my favorite games growing up. All right, so let's start at the beginning of this movie. The intro sequence is one of the only moments throughout the film that feels like it's straight out of the games. It's one of my favorite moments in the movie. We follow a security guard as he scrambles to rush through vents to avoid the animatronics. He's cornered and then forced into a suit. I gotta say, the suits themselves look great in this movie. I like how their eyes glow in the dark, although I think it's kind of silly how the cupcake has more action scenes than most of the other animatronics. Unlike most studios that use CGI to bring creatures to life, Jim Henson's Creature Shop was responsible for the creation of the Fazbear animatronics. Like in the games, Foxy can be heard humming before he attacks, and I thought that was really cool. He's the only character with a voice in this movie. The rest just lip sync to tunes programmed for the shows. So the movie follows this guy named Michael. He's a broke security guard who's played by Josh Hutcherson. I think his acting is pretty good throughout the movie. You could tell he was giving it his all, and it shows. Mike beats the shit out of this guy at a mall who he thought was abducting a kid. So he's brought before a career counselor named Steve, who offers him a job as an overnight security at Freddy's Pizzeria. This Steve guy is actually William Afton, and during this meeting, he recognizes Mike's last name because I guess he was responsible for abducting Mike's younger brother Garrett many years ago. Seems like a bit of a stretch though, right? It would have been more believable if Garrett came up in conversation or something, instead of William Afton recognizing his last name, which wouldn't be very likely. Steve recognizing Mike as a relative of Garrett could indicate that the initial kidnapping was premeditated, and Steve knew all the members of the family, but there's nothing in the movie to support this. Michael has a younger sister named Abby who lives with him. Their age gap seems significant. I guess their parents must have had Abby when they were in their 50s or some shit. Throughout the movie, Mike has this reoccurring dream of a memory when he was younger, of his younger brother being abducted. These were the weakest moments throughout the movie for me, and I'll explain why later. Also, Mike's Aunt Jane is a complete who's fighting for custody for Abby. Mike explains that she only wants custody of Abby so she can get monthly checks from the state. In order to keep custody, Mike needs to get a job. So he takes the job at the mysterious pizzeria. The first night is relatively uneventful, aside from a loud noise jump scare from a balloon boy figure in a locker. I'm sorry, but who would be scared by that thing? Even in the games, I thought he was just stupid. I never thought Balloon Boy was scary. FNAF became popular due to the jump scares. There are very few jump scares in this movie, which I found kind of surprising, and 2 of which are of Balloon Boy. Also, the movie never tells us where Garrett is. You know, Michael's missing brother. The only thing we know by the end of the movie is that William Afton abducted him. Did William Afton just kill some kids? Because if Garrett was put in a suit, his spirit would still be in one of them. But clearly it isn't, because we see all the dead kids in Mike's dream. Each of these kids occupy a suit. I think the movie would have been more effective if Mike's missing brother was in one of these suits. And doing this would make the fort building scene make a whole lot more sense. Anyway, let me continue. The only part of Aunt Jane's plot thread that I enjoyed was her lawyer, Doug. This guy, he's got a silly face. He's a funny looking dude. I like how Aunt Jane is the most contemptible character in this movie when the antagonist is a literal child murderer.
Some people say that, but you know, it's just a theory.
I would have liked it if Mike's dreams felt more like dreams. There's no visual effects that make me think of it as a dream. It's just Mike standing in a field. Just something, you know? Just do something to make it look like a dream. This random cop woman named Vanessa shows up in the middle of the night and introduces herself to Mike. She's played by Elizabeth Lale. She tends to Mike's arm wound he got while sleeping. Why is she here? She knows of the murderous machines in the building, right? She must know that previous security guards have been killed here. Why would she risk her life by visiting? Oh, that's right, because the animatronics in this movie aren't really evil, I guess. I mean, they are, but they're not. There's kids in there, and I guess they just obey William Afton, so they don't attack Vanessa because, you know, Vanessa's his daughter. So yeah, maybe that's why the kids don't attack her. Apparently, Vanessa was sent here by her dad, William Afton, to get some information out of Mike. Mike and Vanessa hang out until sunrise together. She's not the best cop out there, I'll tell you that much. She must have gotten some sort of call from dispatch, right, to do something? But no, she just hangs out at this pizzeria all night. Must be a pretty boring town. So you're telling me Vanessa is a cop, and her dad is a psychopathic child murderer, and she doesn't do anything about this. Instead, she kind of works for her dad, knowing full well what he's she's doing and where. But throughout the movie, they try and convince us that Vanessa is morally good. She tends to Mike's wounds. She tries to save them later in the movie. It's just a little weird, right? If she really cared about the poor souls that were being brought to this pizzeria, you'd think that she would turn her dad in much sooner. Like, why would her dad ask her to get close to the victims? That's a great tactic to make your daughter betray you. Mike's aunt pays a bunch of people to trash the pizzeria, so Mike will be fired from his job, so she can win custody of Abby. One of the people she hires is Mike's babysitter. So these people go to this pizzeria during the daylight hours to trash it right after Mike leaves, and they're all killed by the animatronics in the process. Why did they let Mike live? I guess it was because Vanessa was there and she was protecting him, but what about the first night? This is one of the only horror-related scenes in the movie, and it happens during the day, which is pretty lame, I think. I know inside the pizzeria it's pretty dark, but you can still see the sunlight coming through windows in the background. It kind of kills the mood. The Foxy kill was pretty cool, I guess, but I gotta be honest, most of the kills in this movie are very underwhelming.
Excuse me, what the actual fuck are you doing in my house?
And I get that it's a PG-13 movie, so they can't show a lot. It's just a shame for this movie to be based on such a dark franchise and have the kills be so lackluster.
You need to hang up that computer call. Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling real romantic.
It's just missing that FNAF vibe that you get from the games. It was there for like 3 minutes in the beginning with the security guard, and then it just vanishes for the rest of the movie. Mike's babysitter follows the ghost of one of the kids. The kid keeps repeating, "warmer," as she gets closer to the animatronic that it's possessing. Warmer. This scene was pretty cool, but I hated the little ghost hand that reaches out of the mouth and grabs her and pulls her in. That was dumb. I would have liked it a lot more if Mike spoke to these ghost kids inside the pizzeria instead of them showing up in his dream over and over. I also think it's dumb that Mike has the same dream every night. I get that it was a traumatic event, but nobody has a vivid dream of the same thing literally every night. Hell, most nights I don't even have dreams. He does explain to Vanessa in one scene that he has pills that help him dream of the same horrifying event every night. And he does this so he can try and remember some sort of detail that'll help him find his brother or the killers. But it's obviously been many years since then, approximately over 10 years. Give it up already, dude. Why would he expect his brother to still be alive? Not to mention your memory warps over time. Also, why the hell would he want to relive this awful memory over and over? He would never get any good sleep. He's just putting himself through hell non-stop. I know trauma makes people desperate, right? But it's been so long. If he lost his brother like a year or 2 years ago, then I could believe it. But come on, man. He tells Vanessa about his missing brother, by the way. We get another jump scare from the balloon boy figure. It's not scary at all. Mike has to bring Abby with him to his work, obviously because his babysitter has been murdered. Abby wanders off when Michael goes to sleep, and she starts getting tickled by the animatronics. It's kind of weird that she's not freaking out that these animatronics are seemingly sentient. They do show us scenes from her perspective, and she sees the ghosts of the children along with the animatronics, I guess. But it still must be really weird for her. I mean, I know that she's a kid, but still, this is fucked up even for someone at her age. Also, the ghosts of the kids are able to speak to her, so why can't they speak to Mike when he's awake? I would have liked that so much more than this stupid dream thing that's going on. And don't tell me it's a kid-only thing because Mike's babysitter wasn't a child and she saw and heard one of them. I'm sorry, but this whole dream thing is dumb and it could have played out in a way that I like so much more. Abby had been drawing these dead kids without knowing who they were. Mike learns that the kids in his dreams are the same kids Abby had been drawing and speaking to. Mike accepts the fact that there's ghosts of children possessing these animatronics way too fast. Basically overnight. Even if he believes in ghosts, this would be kind of a stretch for anybody. During Mike's next shift at the pizzeria, the animatronics cease being a haunting and threatening force and turn into Chuck E. Cheese characters. Abby, Mike, Vanessa, and the animatronics all build a fort together.
Are you okay?
Mike tells Vanessa about the ghost kids in the animatronics. He learns that she already knew, but he doesn't ask her how she knew. This random cop lady is spending her entire night shifts with Mike over and over. Like, why isn't she ever called for duty? If I were Mike, I would start to question if she was an actual cop or not. Must be a pretty dead town, like holy shit. I also love how Mike brought his sister back to this insane workplace for another overnight shift. The same place where there are huge possessed animatronics that were tickling her the last time you were there. Why isn't he trying to find another babysitter? I mean, I know he's broke and all, but still, does he not have any friends that could watch her in the meantime? What about that guy he was talking to in the beginning of the movie? It's only until Mike's next shift when he remembers that his aunt is an option. I mean, I know she's awful, but she can't be much worse than possessed animatronics. Mike feels like he has no other choice, so he allows their crazy aunt to watch over Abby. We get another dream during Mike's next shift at the pizzeria, where he speaks to the dead blonde kid's ghost. The kid tells Mike that he can live in this new reality with his lost brother, and all he has to do is give up Abby to the dead kids who want her. And guess what? Mike agrees! It's honestly insanity. Mike knows that he's dreaming. He knows that he lost his brother, so he's willing to give up his living and safe sister for a dream version of his lost brother. It makes no sense. To be fair, not long after he takes it back, but still, it's so dumb. He then starts getting attacked by the kids in his dream. In reality, he's being attacked by the animatronics. This dude gotta be the deepest sleeper on Earth. I know he's taking pills, but still. He wakes in a chair as a Freddy mask approaches his face. He barely frees himself, and then later he's attacked. Freddy shows up at Aunt Jane's place to find Abby, to bring her back to the pizzeria. Freddy kills Aunt Jane and abducts Abby, but Abby thinks that they're just gonna hang out together or something. She even sees Aunt Jane on the floor, and the blonde kid's like, oh, she's fine. She's just, you know, sleeping. Vanessa saves Mike's life, something she wouldn't have to do if she just told Mike that the animatronics are deadly from the start. I know I went over this already. I have to reiterate this point. The movie tries to convince the audience that Vanessa cares about Mike and Abby, but she does very little in terms of saving them from the animatronics, when she knows what they're capable of.
I tried to warn you. I really did try, in my own way.
Yeah. And your way sucks ass. I mean, yeah, I suppose Vanessa could be brainwashed, but then she wouldn't have tried to help Mike or his sister in the first place. Mike learns that Vanessa knows a lot more than she's leading on. Mike demands that Vanessa tell him how to save his sister, and it's a pretty funny delivery.
Tell me how to stop them. Tell me how to save my sister!
Tell me how to save my sister! There is a pretty dark scene of Chica trying to insert Abby into a suit before Mike saves her with a stun gun. William Afton randomly shows up in his Springtrap suit. He threatens to kill Mike. Vanessa saves him. We learn that she was helping William Afton all along. She's a morally questionable character at best, and I think she deserved the knife in the gut that she got. Abby replaces a drawing on the wall of Springtrap holding hands with the kids to one of the truth of Springtrap killing the kids, so that the animatronics learn what actually happened and they turn on him. The spring locks in the suit malfunction, like it does in the game, and it kills Afton. I kind of like this part. It's what William Afton says after this that I thought was kind of dumb.
I always come back.
And he puts his mask on. This makes no sense in the context of the film. What do you mean you always come back? I guess he expects to reawaken in the suit like the kids did, but it's still stupid. Mike and Abby go visit Vanessa in the hospital, regardless of the fact that they know that she was complicit to her father's crimes. I did like the YouTuber cameos. I thought they were pretty funny. I just wish that they put in the Markiplier sex scene that was planned. God, can you imagine? Can you imagine? There were some fun Easter eggs here and there, some nods to the games like the power flickering and Foxy standing in the doorway. I like those parts. I think to wrap it up, I would call this movie mid. I asked my followers this on Twitter. If you could change one thing about the FNAF movie, what would it be? Out of the hundreds of replies that I got, there were a few standouts that were echoed by a lot of people, such as make it scarier, make it rated R, more William Afton, and more of an explanation of the history of the pizzeria with flashbacks. And yeah, I agree with all of those. In a perfect world, I would have loved a rated R FNAF movie that explored more of the backstory with the pizzeria, showed more gruesome kills, did away with the stupid dream thing, but Doug's cool. I don't know, Doug was funny. I hope the next movie is just Five Nights with Doug. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my patrons that make videos like this possible. If you're scrolling up the screen right now, I love you. Thank you so much for your support. You can also support this channel by going to alienclothing.com. That's my personal clothing brand. AYYLIEN clothing.com. Every design over there is straight from my brain. It's a bunch of weird shit, but I love it. And maybe you will too. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.